I'm Beck, and this is Dave. And we are going to discuss Stormfront, the first Dresden book today, because I just recently reread it and I rediscovered how much I'm obsessed with this series. It's been a few years now, and we initially read it pretty much at the same time up to a certain point. We haven't actually finished the series yet, so I wanted to reread them this year and try and, find out all of the things that I'd forgotten. And amongst that, I thought I would semi-quiz Dave and also just nerd out about the Dresden Files. So without further ado, I guess that's what we're going to get into.
Great to be here, Beck. Thanks for having me. So, Dresden Files. What's the first book called again?
Stormfront.
And you've got it signed.
Yes, I met James Masters. Pretty cool.
I freaked that guy out. Little
Did
side
you?
story, yeah. Because when I made my Bob short, I was like, oh, it'd be great to get James Masters to actually do the lines for off-screen Dresden. He's on what is it?
I know what you're talking about. It's that app you can pay for actors to acknowledge you for a birthday message or something like that.
Cameo. Cameo.com or something. And I was like, I have no idea how to reach out to James Masters. So I sent him a Cameo message like, hey man, I'll pay you money, but can you just read these lines from this book? And I got an email saying, your request has been rejected. I was like, that's fair enough.
Fair enough.
It's pretty weird. So Stormfront, first book in the Dresden series. I remember hearing Jim Butcher talk about how this was the book he wrote in college, because he was angsty and he wanted to prove to his college professor, all right, I'm going to write a story that's got all of these traits and all of these cliches that you say need to be present in a story. I'm going to put them all into a book. I'm going to show you how boring and bland that book is. The thing is, Jim's a good writer.
Yeah.
Right? And he's creative.
You can also see that kind of angst come through in Dresden.
As
well, which is funny.
But he ended up I think, cliches are important. There's a reason they're cliches. But what he did maybe inadvertently was he made a great creative story that surrounded these cliches that were really interesting and fascinating. And they had really good foundations. They were so good that he built a huge series on top of it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And that leads me really well into talking about the characters, because there were a lot of characters that appeared in this book that, now that I've read the series and I'm familiar with them, I was surprised to see them appear so early. It's like he thought about them very early on in the work. And I kind of wanted to almost quiz you and see if you remember who might have appeared in the book. I mean, it's been a few years now, so I don't expect you to remember everyone, but some of the key ones would be cool.
Cool. Well, I guess we'll go through these characters and then maybe we'll put a spoiler warning. So with the characters, okay, so I remember Butters is a main character. I don't think he's in book one though.
No, he's not. He comes later.
Butters, you got Bob the Skull, of course.
Classic.
One of my favorite characters.
One of your favorite characters.
Love him.
Really, I find him kind of annoying sometimes.
He's just, especially down the track, the later on books, he kind of gets fleshed out a lot more.
Yeah, okay. I think at the beginning he was a gimmicky joke, the comedic relief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good cliche.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you've got, of course, Murphy. Murphy's there. Was it Murphy's partner who... Okay, spoilers. So
for which?
The person who... Or maybe it's book 2. Someone gets, spiritually tortured.
Oh, Carmichael.
Yeah. Because he comes back later on as well.
Bring
all right, so we'll bring it back. Okay. So you got Butters, you got Murphy, you got Dresden, of course. You've got...
Do you want me to give you a
fairy
hint?
godmother?
He does talk about the fact that he's got a godmother who is a fairy, and it's very subtle, one line asides. There's 2 or 3 of them throughout the story.
Okay.
But he actually doesn't go into it. Love interest. That is my hint for Dresden.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
I can give it to you if you want.
The South American girl.
She starts with S.
South American girl.
Her name's Susan.
Susan, that's it. Susan, yes.
She's actually a reporter, and she writes supernatural themed articles for a newspaper called The Arcane, and I just forgot that completely.
Same.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got Susan. Yep.
Yeah. She corners Dresden and gets him to agree to a date, and when she appears at his apartment to go on the date, that's when a demon turns up.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, he's showering and he's got all the soap in his eyes and everything, so he's completely starkers. And the demon comes and she opens the door and he's got to try and defend her from the demon. while he's completely naked.
That's right. And doesn't she drink a love potion or something?
Yeah, she does.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's so slapstick, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Compared to, later themes, it is so introductory, slapstick, comedic. Like, wow, yeah.
And I actually I had a moment because I listen to these books usually when I'm commuting to work. So I listen on the train, and I just had this moment. I remember staring out the train window and wondering, how long has Dresden been naked? Because this was going on a while, and he was then outside in a storm, and there was a line about his hair was still soapy and it was getting in his eyes and they were stinging, and I'm like, the dude's still naked.
Yeah, and the thing is, Jesus, is so far back. So, Dresden is fairly young-ish as well around here. I think he's been in his early to mid-20s, right?
You reckon? 20s?
Yeah, 20s, yeah. Because
I guess he seems weathered because of all the trauma he's been through. So he's probably in his mid-20s.
Yeah, and you do find out later he's been through a lot.
Yeah.
But then you also do find out later as well that wizards don't age like normal humans anyway.
That's true.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, he did mention in this book that he only saw one person in his life summon a demon, and then he killed his master shortly after. So...
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So there's so many demons later, so this is really early on.
Yeah, that was really dark. The fact that it's already been told to you that Dresden's got this dark past, and there's the council that is kind of on his tail. And
he's really young here. And one thing that I've always admired about the Dresden books is that, Dresden's enemies and the stakes of each book, they grow with him as he grows in maturity and in power, because he does grow to become like a great wizard,
Yeah. Yeah.
But here he's just like, he doesn't know much. He's good at magic, but he hasn't got a lot of control.
But you can tell from when he's in a situation that is like he's going to die and someone that he cares about is going to die, he suddenly just like pulls things out of the hat. There are two great moments of magic in here. One is hilarious and the other one is really clever. And I want to see if you remember any of it. I think you remember the second one I'm going to talk about. But at the end of the book, right? Mm-hmm. But like kind of closer to the end, not quite the end, Murphy calls Dresden and she's in his office, and that dead scorpion has actually reanimated and attacks Murphy. Do you remember? Is that like scratching something at the back of your brain?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He uses an elevator to kill it?
Yeah.
A lift for the Americans?
Yes. He smashes the scorpion at the top of the elevator shaft, but when the elevator goes up, it obviously has to come back down because of gravity, and so he gets his like shield bracelet and he like stabilizes both him and Murphy in the elevator. I could just like visualize it. It was so cool.
Wow.
And yeah, the elevator smashes and they're okay, and he just like starts laughing maniacally because he thinks he was gonna die.
It's such a young man sort of oh wow. Yeah.
And you could see he was talking about his staff because he doesn't have it with him either. And the shield bracelet's busted now too. And so he's talking about the fact that he can't direct certain parts of his magic because he doesn't have that precision. And I'm like, I know how much his magic develops. Like, this is such a cool way to set him up.
Yeah. Wow. Great foundations.
Yeah.
Great foundations. Yeah. For lore. Right? The lore of the world that he's creating here, where there's glamours and magic and, hidden societies.
Yeah, supernatural creatures. Seeing the vampires in this book too. You get like a glimpse of them.
The orders of the vampires.
The orders of the vampires. He goes to a meeting with Bianca, and I think she's one of the white vampire clan. And I think he spooks her or something because he uses the amulet from his mum, and she like reveals herself as the vampire.
Oh, and I remember the book where you realise why that spooks her later. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that was number one. Number two, I'm pretty sure I remember this because I remember when you read this, you loved it and you were telling me about it all the time.
I cried laughing.
Yeah, and because it's your kind of comedy as well.
The visual humour. The visuals. Oh my God.
That is when, I can't remember the specifics, but he uses like a sweeping spell.
Yeah.
To like keep enemies at bay. What does he do again?
The scorpions. So he's just been shot and he's hiding behind this or he's on a balcony. I think he's in a kitchen on a balcony in this mansion where the murderer guy is practicing dark magic and blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to hide from more gunshots, as you do. And the guy sends all these scorpions after him. And so he does the cleaning spell to scoot them all off the balcony.
Yeah, to get them away.
Yeah, get them away. So you can
That's
see,
right.
like,
Yeah.
even though Dresden is still learning all that precision, he knows a lot more technicalities about magic than just this like rogue dark magic guy who's trying to like harness power for himself and go crazy with it. So it's cool to see like the different control.
That's great.
It's a cool throwback.
There's so many little bits and pieces that I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. And it's not that I forgot them because they weren't worth remembering. It's just so much happens in the series. So many moments like that in each book. So hearing that again is a real kind of like refreshing, like, oh yeah, that's nice.
It's kind of rejuvenating. It's
Yeah.
actually motivating, which is why I'm so excited to read it again.
I listened to the audiobooks as well. Like that's how I made my way through the series, just because when I was listening, I was also doing a lot of commuting.
The audiobooks are great too, though.
Yeah, James Masters. There's some hits, there's some misses. When he hits really hard, and he hits most of the time. There are some misses though.
I feel like you've got one in mind, but it's probably not. It's a
later,
book.
it's a later on book, so it's not worth talking about now.
Are you sure?
Do you want me to talk about it?
You're not going to say the title and then leave it at that?
I can't remember the book name. The book is the one where he meets the Knights of the Cross.
Okay.
All three of them.
Oh, I don't remember that one specifically.
Yeah, I don't remember the name.
The title.
But basically, one of them is like an old Japanese dude, who in the book it's written, he has a thick accent when he speaks English.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
And the thing is, like, James, like I guess, for some reason he gets Japanese and Chinese mixed up, so he gives this guy a really, really thick Chinese, accent. Borderline offensive. Stereotypical accent, and it's just like, and look, because he's got a thick accent, you know, and I guess no one else in the reading booth was like, oh, no one caught it. So look, he gives it his all. It's a miss, but
to be fair, he committed to doing the wrong accent. He fully committed. Dresden starts talking to himself in his own head very early. You know how he's kind of got that duality going on, like
the duality.
Yeah, in this book, the council are coming for him, and there's also a point where the killer has a lock of his hair, so he knows during the next storm they're going to harness the storm's power and kill him. Yes. So he's like, well, no matter what, by the end of the weekend I'm going to die. And he's saying to himself, like, what are you doing? Lying on the floor waiting to die. Get up. But it was him talking to himself in his own head. And you see a lot of that interplay throughout the series.
He'll psych himself up, but it's almost like there's this idealized version of himself who is an accomplished magician, the person that he wants to be, who's cool and control. That's the person that's talking to him.
Yeah.
Trying to take this broken version, this current events version of him, and kind of, you say, keep going, which is a great visual. Jim writes in a very visual, like these would translate so well to screenplays.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? There's very little adjustment that you need to get these across.
So it is a very visual story, but something that also made me think of Dresden's internal voice and that like visual talking to himself was him using the sight, which is when he sees like the true form of things. And he looked later on in the series, I won't say who, but he looked at a particular character and he saw their potential like selves, like their potential futures.
Oh, true. Yeah.
So the fact that he can visualize someone else with the sight and like look at their versions of themselves, and then internally with him, like himself, he can look at the versions of him and like pep himself up. Yeah. I thought that was just really cool imagery.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And it starts really early. I didn't expect him to be like psyching himself up.
It's like a trait, I guess. It's a good trait. There's no Michael in this book, isn't there?
Not yet. I think he might come in the next book.
Oh, because we meet Michael the same time that we meet his fairy godmother, don't we?
I think so.
Yeah, because they're taking down that spirit in the hospital for kids. The spirit that kills kids in their cots.
Yes.
You know?
I didn't remember any
I remember that because this is book 2. We don't need to talk about it. Like, I do remember other characters, but there's no way they'd be in book 1.
Who?
Like, just from the magical side of things, you know. Oh, yeah. Hold on.
I know who you're talking about.
His mentor calls him House.
No, not him.
Yeah, what's his name again?
I know who you're talking about, but I was thinking more like a crime boss that you haven't talked about yet.
Oh, the one who has eyes like dollar bills. I remember that line.
They first do the soul gaze as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his soul scares Dresden so much that Dresden like is shaking visibly because his soul is so dry.
I can't remember his name.
Starts with Marcone.
Marcone.
Yeah, he's got quite an integral part in book 1. The killer of the victims, he is working with this couple and this couple have a lot of money and power. And ages ago, this couple's daughter got caught in the crossfire of some of Marcone's goons. So they're trying to harness all this power and like get back at Marcone.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I know. It was like a very twisty plot.
You know, it's funny because looking back, reading that, you're introduced to all these new characters, and it's not too many, it's enough. But then you get to know these characters so much. So when you tell me that, I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, that happened to that person.
Yeah,
You know?
That's what I felt reading it. Because this didn't have the same... I mean, obviously it was interesting, and that's why I reread the book, but it didn't have the same merit the first time. But now that I know everyone, it's so much cooler. And I could actually follow all of the extra side characters, like all of the victims, what their names were, what their jobs were.
Yeah,
even if they only appeared for like a chapter or two, like I could keep track of that.
Yeah, there's more mental space freed up to stick to them.
Yeah, for sure. Last character.
You told me just then.
I did, yeah.
Max from Mac and Alley's, who I love.
Same.
He, in my head, he looks like that guy from Friends, the waiter, the barista.
I can put a picture of him in when we're editing, but I don't know what he looks like now.
He is the guy who's got the crush on Rachel. I don't know why. 'Cause I'm sure he doesn't look like that. I'm sure he's not described like that. For whatever reason, he's like a badass version of that guy.
That's so cool.
I have no idea why.
Mac is just so apathetic while also still somehow caring. I don't know how he does it.
He's like the ultimate boomer. He's like a cool boomer dude.
Yeah, cool boomer. Cool boomer.
I wanted to ask, because I remember the previous video that we did, and when we began, I was like, look, there's a lot of good things I want to say about this, but the only bad things is that Jim Butcher, he uses these lines too often, and there are descriptors.
That's right.
Was there any of them in this book?
I actually, no, I don't think so.
All right, does anyone like grit their teeth or something when they talk?
No, I don't think he's ticked enough people off yet.
Okay. Does anyone spit like, there's like a, they say something, but his descriptor is, instead of saying they said, he's like, they spat.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine like some of
There's a lot of spitting going on in these books.
Dresden confronts a few people, and one of them was one of Marcone's goons because he was like playing both sides.
Is this the book where Dresden, he gets ticked off and he comes for Marcone when he's in a club, and as he's walking towards the club, he just rips the door off its hinges with magic, and the bouncer's like...
I think so.
Because I remember like that's a very visual, I could see the cinematic, version of that, and it's really cool.
I don't actually remember. I know he was in a full rage because they'd just taken a lock of his hair. So potentially. Because he knew he was going to die, so he's like, I don't give a crap about a door.
Yeah, he just goes full Hulk mode.
Yeah.
Magic Hulk mode. That was cool.
Magic Hulk mode. Well, I think that's it for book 1 at least. Maybe we should wrap it up now.
Thanks for having me. I'll see you in the next one.
Me.
I don't know why I'm here, but I'm glad to be here.
The excitement is palpable. Well, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Come and let us know your favourite Dresden character in the comments, but we'll see you in our next video. Bye.
Oh, I'm in the next one?
Yeah, of course.
I'll see you in the next one. Oh.